So I suppose you're wondering, what is that taste? What kind of music do I like? Asking a major label A&R man this is like asking a stockbroker what his favorite commodity is, or saying to an FX trader, hey, what's your favorite currency? The answer is, whatever's profitable. Hip-hop, trance, Bulgarian heavy metal played on sheep's bladders. If it's a hit, who fucking cares? As long as it's profitable.
Hi, I'm Vlad. Welcome back to the Bresniks cast. We're at episode number 38 now. And just before we get started, like, a bit of kind of housekeeping. I know there's like not been a lot of episodes lately, you know. I got sick myself, so I haven't really been able to do much. And I'm a one-man band over here, so there's only like so much I can do at one time. And the other thing as well is I had an album coming out, so it is out now on all your favourite digital platforms, you know, Spotify, Amazon, you know, all these places, Tidal, all these things, Bandcamp, everything, you can hear it wherever. Just search Vladimir Bresniks, the album is called Bresniks, you know, and let me know what you think. You know, I'd like to get some good feedback, or some any feedback, to be honest. Yeah, so I would also just like to say thanks to the listeners that sent me the the messages like of get well soon and things like that when I was unwell. I think that was really cool, and it really did help. Really made me feel a lot better. So thanks, guys. You know who you are. Very much appreciated. So let's go on to the show. Now, I wanted to do this one kind of myself. I recently watched this film. I hadn't seen it in years, and it's called Kill Your Friends. It was directed by Owen Harris, and it's based on the film was written by John Niven, but it's based on a book he wrote. Now, I haven't read the book, so we're really just going to base this on. We're going to base this on the film, basically. So before I get into it, I would like to encourage you to watch this film. It's on Amazon Prime just now, and I'm sure you can find it in a lot of other places as well, because for me to talk about this and extrapolate the kind of philosophical ideas and stuff I got from it, you really you really need to see it, basically, or I'll just spoil it for you. It'll just be spoiler after spoiler. So go and see it. I'll wait here. I'll wait till you come back. But like, you know, it would definitely be worth it, and you'll get all the references. So anyway, to give you an idea of the plot, it's about a young A&R rep called Stephen Stilfox, and he's working for a big record label in 1997. I'll just mention here that, like, throughout the film industry, like throughout the film, it's not the film industry, but like throughout like the music throughout the film, it's pretty kind of what you'd expect from like a film made in the 90s, but it's really good. You know, you've got like Oasis and Blur and Sash and The Prodigy and all this kind of thing. And I don't know if it's just because it's nostalgic music to me, but even where they put these, you know, what you might call the obvious songs, even the way they put them in, the way they fit them in, I think it really works. You know, so like I really thought that was pretty cool. But let's jump ahead a bit in the film, because like this kind of relates to what I was talking about the music, because there's a point where our hero Stephen is going on a mad drinking drugs bender, and he's like lying on his floor, and Karma Police by Radiohead is playing, and it kind of intersperses between like him and the video for Karma Police, and it's just one of those points where, you know, through the film he's always looked down on the kind of archetypes and things like that, and this is the point in the film where he's actually like seems to be more connected to the music than ever before, which, you know, is me skipping right back right forward, but I just think, and it's important thing we're talking about the music, just to throw that in there. You know what I mean? So, I mean, right from the start of the film, which I think this is something like I liked about it anyway, was the fact that it was just he's being honest, talking about Stephen Silcox again, our hero. He's being completely honest about it, saying like, you're as well buying a lottery ticket than trying to be a musician. Cause you'd have the better chance with the lottery ticket. Like, and he makes it very clear, very explicit, very quickly that the music industry is about money, and that any like art or political statements that they end up releasing is purely incidental because they know it's going to make them some money, and right away what's kind of like revealed about Stephen is that he has this such elitist attitude. It's like, I will package something and present it and these people will like it, because I am who I am and they are who they are. So the elitism is there like right from the very start, and you really notice that. I mean, like, he looks down on the arty people because, I mean, even like friends of his, like, who are captivated by the art, for him, he just doesn't seem to see the art. It's the money, it's the success, and it's the power that just even one good song can bring him. And that seems to be like his major obsession, basically. And the other thing is, like, he also makes it very clear that, like, A&R reps and scouts, etc., they're all on drugs in some capacity to deal with all this, like, extreme pressure that they are, like, to find hit bands that will be successful, and it's, like, always at the back of their mind that they're just one bad deal away from being fired. So, like, this adds to the tension, like, in the office and things like that. And if you can think about what pressure must be like, because sometimes no matter how good something like an artist or an idea or anything can seem on paper, when you release it to the public, it's not necessarily going to take off in a big way. Like, I know some people are better at manipulating mass audiences, and to like things, Simon Kill, in big ways than others. But even like the most successful like music moguls have had their fair share of flops. We need to remember that. The bottom line is, no matter how good it sounds, no matter how good it seems, no matter how good it looks, anytime that you are putting anything out there for the public to basically judge, you're rolling the dice in some way, and that's something that comes across like in this as well. And another interesting kind of part of this is that it's like, it's one of those films that it's supposed to be about music, but it isn't really. Like the way that film about the wrestler with Mickey Rourke in it, was supposed to be about wrestling, but really it wasn't about wrestling at all. It was about a man grappling with himself and, where he's going. And I suppose as well, like, Kill Your Friends has a lot in common with Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy in a way, because that the latter there is supposed to be a film about, like, espionage and stuff like that. But really it's a men who don't trust each other and are like jostling for power, which is what Kill Your Friends is really all about as well. In a way, these things are like a representation, I think, of what men have always done in history, in terms of like competing with each other for resources and power. And I think what really gets explored like in this film is how you would look at, that impulse, that drive for, like I said, the resources, the power, the wealth, like in the modern world, and then in a record company, of all places, and that's something I did really find interesting about the film. Now, just before like I go on, I'd like to take a look at like Steven Stelfox a bit again, because I know like I'm really focusing on him, but he is really the focus of this film. He is the the protagonist, and he's he's ambitious A&R rep, but he's willing to engage in murder and blackmail, and seemingly with no extreme or otherwise attacks of conscience. Like, he doesn't get a sexual thrill like many psychopaths, you know, who become mad murderers, you know, like he just appears to see others like in the way of his success, you know, as people who just need to be physically removed. And to him, it just seems like business, just something you do, you know, and it's almost like a very kind of like a primal attitude, like a thing that people would have done more in the ancient world, you know what I mean? And the thing is, like, we're talking about the stress, like, that these people were feeling as well. And, you know, I've spoken to people who worked for indie labels, and, like, while they felt an amount of stress to deliver with, like, quality, you know, bands and things like that, but, I mean, like, I can only imagine how much worse, like, it must be if you're working for like a major profit driven like major label, you know, and they couldn't give a fuck whether you like art or not, as long as it sells, you know, who gives a fuck how it sounds. I mean, one example of this in the film is after Stephen kills, you know, his like his co- one example of this in the film is after Stephen has killed his colleague Roger Waters, right? Because Rogers was getting the promotion to the head of the A&R department, which was the job that Stephen thought that he should have. You know, this should be his. But again, he kills him. No remorse. You know, no weird sexual cannibalistic thrill. You know, none of this stuff that you would associate with like serial killers. You know, it's simply that this guy's in his way and he's not having that. You know, and I think I find that that kind of rational and pragmatic kind of evil is not only really disturbing, but it's like the person has become like this kind of real robot, you know, absolutely devoid of any emotion or empathy at all. You know, and I find that, you know, as pretty terrifying. Um, you know, and even then, like, you know, he's killed his friend. And then he's back at work and he's consoling people about it. He's coming across as a normal guy, you know, as if nothing's happened, not acting weird at all or anything. And I'm definitely no psychologist, man, but like, from my understanding, that is like extreme sociopathic behavior, you know, and in a lot of ways, like, here's the philosophical bit. Stephen represents almost like a Nietzschean will to power. You know, actually talks about he talks about this, and this is something I've always wondered, like myself as well, because he talks about how simply having talent won't make you a star, because you know the thing that will take you to the top simply more than having talent is the raw ambition. You know, because the ambition will put you to work and make you do things that people simply won't do, and that's how you succeed. I mean, because you could be talented and just sit on your arse and do nothing, or you could be ambitious and out there and maybe mediocre, but hustling, making relationships, and then, you know, at least you're not just hoping something comes to you. And this really did actually, it got me thinking quite a bit here, because like I remember, like, oh god, quite a few years ago, I read a Friedrich Nietzsche book, Human, All Too Human, and in my version this is in page 112. It's a long aphorism and it's actually stuck for me since I read it. I've never really forgot it. It's quite long, but I'll give you my favourite kind of section quote. So, quote, "For instance, the recipe for becoming a good novelist is easily given, but the carrying out of the recipe presupposes qualities which we are in the habit of overlooking when we say, 'I have not sufficient talent.' Make 100 or more sketches of novel plots, none more than 2 pages long, but of such clearness that every word in them is necessary. Write down anecdotes every day until you learn to find the most pregnant, most effective form, never wary of collecting and delineating human types and characters. Above all, narrate things as often as possible, and listen to narrators with sharp eye and ear for the effect upon other people present. Travel like a landscape painter and a designer of costumes. Take from different scientists everything that is artistically effective. If it be well represented, finally, meditate on the motives for human actions. Scorn not even the smallest point of instruction on this subject, and collect similar matters by day and night. Spend some 10 years in these various exercises, then the creations of your study may be allowed to see the light of day. But what do most people do? On the contrary, they do not begin with the part, but the whole. Perhaps they make one good stroke, excite attention, and ever afterwards their work grows worse and worse, for good natural reasons. But sometimes when intellect and character are lacking for the formation of such an artistic career, fate and necessity take the place of these qualities and lead the future master step by step through all the phases of his craft. So, I know, it was Nietzsche. He does tend to write that way. But, like, the thing is, this is the type of passage that you could dissect for a long time, you know, forever possibly. But, you know, what I really got out of it personally was that, you know, there's incredibly talented people who don't have the ambition to take their talent further. You know, whereas on the other side, you get the mildly talented or sometimes, you know, not talented people who put in more work than anyone and through raw ambition, you know, and really hard work are able to create, you know, some kind of career doing something for themselves. And this does come up in the movie, and Stephen basically lays out the concept early. But if we're sticking on, you know, Stephen's character, it shows its ugliness again, you know, as we find out about Rage. Now, Rage is a rapper that, you know, we're told about early on in the film. His first album's supposed to be a massive hit, and when we join, like, the movie, he's already late and giving them the sort of demos and stuff for the second album he's supposed to be working on for months. And the record company is getting worried because they're spending a lot of money and hearing absolutely nothing. And Rage, who you can kind of think of as like a sort of a proto-Kanye, almost meets Goldie sort of figure. And he invites, you know, like Stephen and the other people from the record company to this private listening party, you know, of this secret album. And not only is it experimental, especially by the standards of the record company, but the boss is clearly not impressed about the amount of money that's gone into, you know, making this, you know, what he sees as like a horrendous thing, you know. And then we find out, like, before it's released later in the album, Rage is involved in an altercation and ends up being paralyzed and brain damaged, like, also. And when Stephen learns all about this, his first thought is about, like, releasing him for his contract. But then he has this idea of, don't release him, we can turn this into a human interest story and we can still make money off him. So it's not even just like, screw the art, screw the political statements, we'll just make money off it. Now it's almost as well like, screw this guy and his life-altering, you know, disability now. We can still make money off this. And, you know, I'm not exactly averse to capitalism, but, like, there's just some times when, I don't know if it's just like, you know, people that buy music, you know, just as consumers and that don't really care, don't really bother. I don't know if it's maybe people that are more into it, more involved in it, that kind of start to feel this way about it. But yeah, it's just interesting, you know. But yeah, I mean, like, and wrapping up about Stephen really here, because, you know, he's been really our focus of this podcast, you know, he's also ruthless, you know, like in every single way, you know, not even just in business and things like that. You know, his morals are very, I was going to say very loose, his morals are non-existent. You know, he even manages to kill his secretary, who's obviously intelligent and could go places. You know, he manages to blackmail a policeman who's investigating him for the murder of his friend. And, you know, it's just so much for someone to carry, you know, who has any kind of conscience, you know. And I wonder if Stephen is like, if it's just, you know, this is just a character, or, you know, is he closer to the truth of what you're dealing with out there? I mean, I don't know. I've never been involved, like, really in the music industry, so I couldn't really tell you. But it's just interesting to think about what he represents, you know. And especially, I mean, this was made quite a few years ago, so it was even before a lot of this Me Too stuff and all the rest of it started coming out. So, like, just one of those things, isn't it? But I think generally the whole film does have like a social Darwinist feel about it. You know, it really is like survival of the fittest in so many ways. But like every single thing in life, luck is so, so important. And, you know, like it's illustrated in the scene in the movie when Steven signs the really piss poor girl band, you know, which initially looks like a disaster, but he's kind of fucked if he does and fucked if he don't sort of thing. So he decides just to go for it, you know, and their song ends up becoming a hit, even having its own dance. There's actually a great line when someone says, "I haven't seen anything like this since Wigfield," and only 90s kids will get that reference. But yeah, like they get really excited when they see in the club the song's got its own dance. You know, it excites them really greatly because now that means that they've found a level of success among the normies and the money's going to start coming in. You know, so basically the film for me, my interpretation is kind of like what happens to the arts the more they are nothing but, you know, products churned out en masse, devoid of any real skill, you know, or soul. It's all about, you know, aesthetics these days. You know, there are exceptions, but you do know what I mean. But as long as consumers are willing to pay for this garbage, you're just going to get it. I mean, you always get more of what you subsidize. It's just the rule, you know, and I don't want to leave you all on a depression note. The good news is now we have the internet, and the music industry has had to change in a massive way since 1997 when this film was set, you know, and I think that's probably nothing but a good thing. And, you know, who knows what's going to happen to these major labels in the next 10 years. You know, certainly I don't, and a lot of people that I've spoke to that are much more clued up on me don't either. So one of those things that will be interesting to see. So I think that's it. That'll do us. Thanks so much for listening. I've been Vlad Bresniks. Don't forget to check out my album. Like I said, it's on just search Vladimir Bresniks. It's on all your favourite digital platforms. More info on the website, bresniks.com. Follow me on Twitter, at Vlad Bresniks, you know. And thanks for listening. And I think to finish us off for this episode, I'll just play a song off my new album. Why not? Bugger it. So this is The Way I Heard It.
Hold on, right? You called in, so like before we move on, just let me summarise what you've said the way I heard it. So you're pissed off, your social anxiety that makes you come across as, I don't know, aggressive or weird. And you're telling yourself it's nothing to do with the fact that you walk around in a crippling rage all day, like an atomized individual floating through a sea of people who may as well be on another planet. But fuck them, because there are people on the internet too, and those people can be blocked, and you don't even have to look them in the eye. And anyway, what have real people done for you? The arts are full of perverts, politicians aren't actually people, sports stars are those people you hated in school with a lot of money, and you yourself are in an abusive relationship with the media. And for some reason, these are your problems. You know, the normal things that you thought you would just do, just never happen. So you're worried, and rightly so, about becoming like the old guys in your work. But every year, you're still in that office with them, telling the same shitty jokes, and get pissed off when someone parks their space in the morning. You get an odd joy out of inconveniencing people. You're habitually rude to anyone. Now there's a panic, because there was all the time in the world. And now it's not there anymore. And then one day you wake up and realise how many decades you wasted drinking and watching TV, contemplating all the grand, historical and sociological reasons why you're not achieving anything. Is that it? That I was sent out?
Contemplating all the grand and complex historical and sociological reasons why you don't achieve anything